Hello, family, and welcome to another episode of Role Model Experts Cafe. I'm your host, Dr. L, the Parent Whisperer, and today with me, I have an amazing lady, Dr. Katrina Nguyen. Did I say that correctly?
That's correct, yes.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for being here. I know you're busy and you're working in office and everything. So tell us a little bit more about why you do what you do, because when I saw you in the networking events, I thought that it was important for our audience members to hear this message and kind of raise their awareness, get their radars up on this. So Dr. Katrina, please tell us a little bit more about your story of how you got involved with what you do, and we'll go from there.
So I am a pediatric gastroenterologist and an author. I do speaking as well, and I founded a nonprofit in 2014 called Faithful, the number 2, and then Fitness. And the goal and our mission is to help reverse the childhood obesity epidemic in America. And how we do that is since April 2015, here in Loves Park, Rockford, Illinois, we offer 2 to 3 12-week programs per year that is free. And that includes a weekly 1-hour exercise class with a local gym called Peak Sports Club. We also do meal prep classes through partnerships with a couple of national companies. We take kids to farm visits with a local organic farm. And then nutrition lessons are incorporated at the end of exercise class or through a grocery store tour with a volunteer dietitian. And why I started with obesity intervention for children, that's always the question, why children? If I get the children involved, I get the parents involved. And so it's a prevention. It involves the family, and I take it into the community. I finished my pediatric GI fellowship in June of 2009, and I started my first job in Augusta, Georgia in August 2009. And when I finished my training, one of the things I noticed is that just regular, every 3 to 6 months counseling for a very important problem like childhood obesity, it doesn't really make a difference within the office. You have to address why the changes that you counsel on doesn't, show up in the outcomes. Children come back and their fatty liver disease is not better. They're gaining weight. So when I sat down and really analyzed and talked to the families, I realized there were many barriers that families and the parents and the child faced at home, which unless you take time to talk about it, you really don't address those barriers.
That is really, really important. And thank you for the work that you do. Childhood obesity is on the rise. It's a big concern because just about everything that we associate with getting old now is happening earlier and earlier. And a big part of that is this. And it's very easy to look at it and say, well, they should eat better. But like you said, there's many of these barriers. So let's discuss some of those barriers because I believe every parent wants their children to be happy, healthy, and lead a full life. And childhood obesity is one of those things that sits dab smack in the middle of it and just hampers all of it, basically. It affects their health, it affects their potential, and their possibility of having a long life in the first place so that they can see their dreams fulfilled.
Yes.
And the parents oftentimes are busy. They might be socioeconomically challenged. There's all these other barriers, right? So where do we begin? What are some of the things that you see as the barriers?
So when I addressed childhood obesity and formed a nonprofit, I look at my personal story of being a refugee in America. I was 14 months old when my family and I escaped communist Vietnam in 1975. And when we have to come over here, I was the 8th child at the time. I have a total of, there's 10 kids in the family. So I still had 2 other siblings born in America. But we had to overcome barriers that are very, very relevant to childhood obesity, which is, as you mentioned, socioeconomic barriers, really understanding that you can actually eat healthy on a budget, which most people cannot foresee that. Also motivation, just being in the right environment, and knowledge, just like learning a new language, learning what is healthy eating? What's a good portion size? Should I be offering these sugary beverages? Should I be eating with my family or in front of the TV, eating in my bedroom? How can I meal prep? Does it take a lot of time? Should I involve my children in meal prepping or shopping with me? So these are some of the barriers, but certainly financial motivation, the right environment, the knowledge. These are just a handful of things that I identified just sitting down and talking to the families. And I use that knowledge when I created my nonprofit, is to offer things that can help families overcome those barriers, such as a free access to a gym, providing support to get knowledge about healthy eating, really motivating them in an environment every Saturday for 1 hour. People say 3-4 times a week, 60 minutes. Well, why don't you start with 60 minutes once a week? And then you can see if you can do 3 or 4 more times.
Right.
And that's the tools that I give by just providing a program that families, especially children, feel that they're not suffering this problem by themselves. And we're getting the parent and the child working out together, which hardly ever happens. Right. And teaching the parent and the child to meal prep together, shop together, go to a farm together. These are quality time that can be incorporated to daily living.
Right. So this is not something that's going to put more things on the parents' plates. In fact, the opposite, take things off of their plates. And if you don't have to buy junk food, in addition, it's going to save you money too.
Yes, yes. Because we always say for children, it's the parent who has the budget, right? So the parents can talk to the child and discuss, like, how much money would we save if we just cut out the sugary beverages?
Right.
And it's also important for the health as well.
Right. Awesome. So when we're talking about childhood obesity, what's the youngest age, or is there a youngest age for this?
For my program?
Well,
or
both
just
for your
in
program
general,
as well as what you see in the field as far as
yes.
the children that are being impacted.
Mm-hmm. Well, for my program, with the group fitness program, we enroll children aged 7 to 18 years, and we require the parent, guardian, or a sibling that's 18 or older to come and work out with them every Saturday. As far as seeing things like fatty liver disease, which is in my field of GI related to obesity, my youngest patient I've taken care of is 4 years old.
Wow.
And one of the things we do see is after 2, the diet changes quite a bit in terms of more snacking, juice. And then as they go on later into preschool and they see other processed foods, there's also advertising, that comes with it. So there's a lot of pressures from outside that can affect the way we try to educate and encourage healthy eating, but it's a challenge.
Right. It always baffles me how early on we get exposed to things that are just not right for us.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. So as far as the nonprofit, first of all, what are some of the things that you need, both on the community support and also on the awareness side of things?
So it's interesting you asked that, because I'm creating a blueprint for my nonprofit, because my goal is to expand it to other cities and states. And so anybody out there who is passionate about helping me and other families fight childhood obesity can learn from my blueprint. The blueprint involves having a gym or fitness center that's willing to offer a free gym space for at least an hour every Saturday, and a fitness instructor that has some experience or interest in working with children and families. And the kind of exercise is group fitness with minimal or no equipment. So it's not about running the treadmill or going on the elliptical, right, or lifting weights. It's about cardio and making it fun, really not perceiving that as exercise. It's actually playtime. Right.
Well, children would not do anything that's not fun anyway. So
correct. Yes. So we have to tailor it to that. And then the second thing is having a volunteer dietitian that can provide nutrition lessons that's interactive, meaning the children can look at, a fake plate with fake food, or bring in real food or real food labeling. They can teach them to read. And that same dietitian is willing to spend at least once every 3 months for 2 hours at a grocery store and taking kids and parents through the aisles and teaching them how to read labels, and understand, the importance of looking at salt and sugar and saturated fat and preservatives and all the other things. If you can't pronounce it, it's probably not good for you. And and then partnering with an organic farm, just so that they can learn where food comes from and learn how to harvest vegetables, prepare salad, learn how to make a vinaigrette. Several companies I've worked with, Wild Tree and Epicure, are two companies that do home-based or classroom-based or gym-based meal prep classes, which we call freezer meals. So if you take time at least once a week to make meals, you can put it in Ziploc bag, cut up everything, because one of the limitations about, cooking is the time it takes to prep.
Right.
But if you spend one day a week for several hours prep for the whole week, it cuts back the chances that you're going to drive through fast food. So those are some basic partners, but certainly we can be creative on the resources of each community.
Absolutely. I love everything you're saying. So that's definitely something that we need to discuss further. I also wanted to bring this topic up because it seems to pop up more: food allergies and picky eating habits. Is that something that is getting in the way of your work? And do you have any solutions for that?
So with food allergies, not so much as far as in relation to childhood obesity intervention and barriers, but certainly picky eating is an issue, which what we've learned from our dietitian is, in the past, people would say expose the child to 8 to 12 times and eventually they'll eat. Now we're seeing it could be up to 30 times. And I think exposure is not just about they have to take a bite. Exposure is putting it in front of them, touching it, smelling it. Maybe it's the color, maybe it's the texture. And so in my program, when we do a meal prep class, we also have tasting opportunities. So I may prep, a squash dish that a child and a parent had never tried. Like this past weekend, we did a meal prep class and I made butternut squash that was roasted. I made spaghetti squash, 2 different textures. And one I didn't season and one I seasoned. And they all loved it in the end. But one thing I found is if they put tomato sauce on the spaghetti squash, they'll eat it because it's the contrast of the salt and the sweetness. And then some kids will like, I make a parfait with pumpkin puree, but I put a little granola on top, the crunch with the puree texture and some yogurt, but without the crunch, they may not like it. So these are the things, like when we say picky eating, it's about identifying what the child actually likes. So it may seem picky to us, but it's because we think they should eat like us. It's not that case. Yeah. So I learned a lot of that over the last 7 to 8 years. Yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful. Very cool. Yeah, I always tell the kids, I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like if you try 10 things and you don't like 9 of them, it doesn't matter. It's the one thing that's good for you and you try and you like. Now you have something for an entire life that you can benefit from.
Yes.
You enjoy it and it's good for you. So so that's what we want. Awesome. I love it. So how can people learn more about what you do and connect with you, support you, and learn from you as well?
So I have a new website called M like Mary, D Katrina with a K, mdkatrina.com. And it actually shows the work I do in my nonprofit, also as a physician for telehealth with my Catholic doctor. And I have a book called Live to Give, where I share a chapter in there about my nonprofit. But the whole goal of the book is just to show people that it's you can find joy through being generous, and you don't have to be rich. For example, the volunteers for my nonprofit, they provide their time and their talent. And you might be a teacher, but you can also be a fitness instructor. So your income, driving job is your teacher, but your passion and finding joy is being a fitness instructor. My dietitian, she has a job as a dietitian. She gets paid for that at the hospital, but in the weekend, she finds joy being a dietitian for my nonprofit. So my whole concept in the book is stories, not just in my nonprofit, other stories in my medical experience, where either other people taught me how to find joy through being selfless. And I hope that that book will help other people as well. I started speaking since 1 year ago, and a lot of my message is about sharing my nonprofit and encouraging generosity.
I love it. We're going to put all of the information in the description box of this video, guys. So definitely make sure you connect. This is something that is not only essential for optimizing humanity's potential and optimizing the next generation, but also can make a profound impact in your own family life on a day-to-day life, because there are so many things that are affected and impacted by the stuff that we're talking about with childhood obesity. That's it totally transforms your lifestyle. So highly encourage you to do that. Dr. Nguyen, I have a question for you. For our parents that are struggling with kids that have that childhood obesity, what are one or two things that you recommend that they could listen and watch this and implement right away?
One thing is to look at are we drinking sugary beverages? So that's for children, that's a big culprit on affecting obesity and fatty liver.
So I have a question, because when you say sugary, I want the audience members to also be aware, we're not just talking about sodas here. There's
absolutely not. So. Yes, juice, even juice. It may seem natural, but it's much better to eat an apple than drink apple juice. Right. One of the things that for teenagers, especially the blended coffees, that they go through the drive-through to get the blended coffee. Smoothies too. It may seem healthy, but if you make your own, it's healthier than going through the fast food or the stores.
Thank you.
So most definitely, that's where I would start. The second thing is to find time to eat together and turn off the screen, turn off the TV, put that away. Yes. If we focus on eating in a limited amount of time, we won't be mindlessly eating. We should eat because we're hungry, not eat out of boredom or that there's nothing else to do. Right. And then the third thing I would suggest is find time to just be active, have fun, 30 to 60 minutes, even 3 times a week. And it doesn't have to be at the gym. Just go outside, take a walk, get it done, either early morning or after dinner. So those are 3 tips that have helped my families in my program, even after they've completed the program.
Okay, love it, love it. Definitely, guys, listen to this advice. This is going to change your life. It's going to change your kids' lives. It's an investment too. That's the other thing that you want to look at. That when you invest in something, you get something back plus dividends. You get interest back, right? Mm-hmm. Some of that is time. Some of it is your resources down the road. You don't miss days from work. You don't lose on finances and pay the doctor and stuff like that. I don't mind getting paid, but it's much better for me to stay healthy.
It's important. I always say it's important to focus on healthcare. Then you can prevent spending money on sick care.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Let's do that.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Katrina, for what you do. I really appreciate it. We're going to share this information on our channels as well. Audience members, thank you for tuning in. Please spread this message, share the links, use the links yourself as well, and learn to connect to these valuable resources that are available to you. And make your community a better place as well along the way, because it's much easier to live healthy if you are in a healthy community. So when you take steps to spread this message, this mission that Dr. Nguyen has, you also help those around you, but in turn, it actually helps you and keeps you accountable as well for your lifestyle too. So very, very important. Thank you so much. If you haven't already done so, make sure you click subscribe so you get notification of the latest experts, gifts, and expertise that they bring to the channel. And Dr. Katrina, any final words for our audience members before we finish today?
Well, I would love to connect with you. And if there's anything I can do to help build another chapter of Faithful to Fitness in your community, please feel free to visit me at mdkatrina.com and send me a message. And I appreciate Dr. L for having me on the show.
Awesome. Thank you. Until next time. Cheers.